I am Munir Mengal. I welcome you once again from United Nations. We are here for the EMRIP 6th Council session. So I welcome all of you on behalf of Bolan Times. So today our guest is Bruna Molina. She is the ex-legal head of OHRCHR, which is called Office of the Human Rights Commission. Served as in charge or chief of the special procedures of war crimes of Yugoslavia and Rwanda, as chief of special procedures of missing persons and summary executions. She is also a professor at School of Diplomacy of Geneva and at Webster University of Geneva. So she has a long experience of diplomacy as well. Currently, she is also president of International Bills of Rights Association, which is an organization which has proposed a revision of Declaration of Human Rights 2048. I'm thankful to you for giving us your time. So today, actually, we are here with respect to raising the voice of the Baloch people. In that respect, you have a very vast experience about the international human rights issues and about the missing persons issues, summary executions, and tortures. So you have served as a head of OHCHR, so as a chief of the special procedures. So in that respect, we, the Baloch people, are a victim of this issue, and we have been a victim of this issue. Currently, more than 14,000 Baloch are missing. We have received more than 1,200 dead bodies of our missing persons, including females and children. So what you think that how the issue of missing persons, summary executions, and tortures in such a state which is based on Islamic fundamentalism can be tackled through United Nations, through OHCHR special procedures, and UNHCR.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mengal, for your question. I think that this question posed in this precise room, which is room 17 of the United Nations, where the Commission of Human Rights passed these important resolutions back in 81. And subsequently, missing persons 81, summary executions in 82, and the question of torture in 83. And this is such a pertinent issue that has evolved and grew through many years, and that affects in particular your country. The question of disappearances is linked to the summary execution and to torture. They are all events that government forces perpetrate with impunity. And organizations like yours that bring the attention of normal people, of how family suffers, and how the society has to improve that. It is unacceptable that governments still tolerate, not only tolerate, but they perpetrate this kind of horrible crimes. Therefore, I think the working group on disappearances of the United Nations and the special rapporteurs should be your link to solve these problems in the future. Also, you mentioned fundamentalism. Fundamentalism in any religion, not only in Islamic religion, but in all the other religions, they bring nothing but sorrow to the community and to the population. So I hope that the issues are brought forward by the families, by non-governmental organizations, and this is reverted to the governments in order for the government to solve it as soon as possible and within the shortest possible delay.
Actually, with respect to missing persons issue, we the Baloch are trying, since a decade to raise our voice at UN and other platforms. Recently, in last year, September 2012, a working group of disciplinaries visited Pakistan and particularly Balochistan. They met with the family members of the Baloch missing persons. But practically we are not seeing anything that these organizations, neither UNHCR nor OHCR, Office of Human Rights Commission, is doing anything for the safe recovery or to know about the whereabouts of those missing persons. So how we can, ask them that please do something practically for us, because the words are not, enough. The ones who got kidnapped a decade earlier, now their mothers, their fathers have died. So the people are, losing the hope.
I could imagine so, because what you do, you bring to the attention in writing to these bodies, like the working group on disappearances and the rapporteurs, and the procedure in itself is not expeditive. It should be more dynamic. Although the urgent appeals are being sent, but the capacity of the Office of the High Commissioner in terms of personnel also to handle these questions is not enough. So member states have to have this conscious of supporting this mandate in a larger way. Also, the press should bring to the attention the question of the Baloch people, that they have been suffering for, more than 70 years now, since 1947 on. And through the different, changes in the government, different military regimes taking over, imposing rules, and therefore leaving the Baloch people always on the side. I would really hope that the working group and the rapporteurs take special attention to the historical background of the Baloch population in order to help them now in a precise way and concrete manner, and also make an appeal to the High Commissioner to pay a special attention to this group that have been set aside politically for so many years.
Actually, recently we have seen in the news that the current regime of Nawaz Sharif is thinking to give, amnesty, particularly those government agencies who are involved in crimes with respect to missing persons, tortures, and summary executions. So, what you think if a state, develops some sort of strategy to give amnesty to, its organizations
So
who are
this type
involved in
of crimes, they shouldn't have amnesty. I think that one should take the example of Argentina, that condemned all these generals that they were involved in the disappearances and murdering of people. I think the justice must be observed. You cannot amnesty crimes that are crimes against humanity. I think the governments must have, in order to have peace in any country in the world, you must have justice. And without providing justice, you cannot advance in a normal society to a democratic institutions that at the end of the day, this is what you want. It's a country that is democratic, that has provided assistance and it has provided justice to these people that they have perpetrated these crimes.
You have observed, you have been a part of those, organizations, those committees who solved the issue of missing persons in Argentina.
Yes.
So what you recommend at this stage, particularly the UN bodies, what steps they shall take and what the Baloch people shall do with respect to
I
this
think
issue?
that the working group should be very firm in insisting that for the question of disappearances, the people that they have been involved should be brought to justice. It's nothing like being amnestied after they have committed these horrible crimes. But above all, that the international law is the country itself, inside, that has to do it and has to provide. This is what happened in Argentina. It was a government change. The military regime was toppled, and then the democratic regime took over and therefore had hands free to do it. I don't know in the case of Pakistan whether the government have the courage of doing that. But believe me, if that is not done, there is no changes. There is no real change. So this will be hopeless if the government itself acknowledges these terrible crimes and institutes court by which these perpetrators have to go through.
You know about the Balochistan issue, as initially you said, that the Balochistan issue is a political issue.
That's correct.
Balochistan was occupied by force by Pakistan. It was not a part of Pakistan. So in 1948, Pakistan occupied it by force. What do you recommend that how the Baloch people can raise their issue at international forums diplomatically? Because you are a professor of diplomacy and you have, taught almost, all the countries' diplomats. So what you suggest the Baloch, particularly political organizations?
You see, the question of Balochistan is the question of self-determination. And as such, has to be put before the United Nations, which should perhaps pass the resolution eventually on the question of the self-determination of the Baloch. I also understand that the Baloch are not only in Pakistan, but also in the neighboring areas, but you want to circumscribe it to your country, I think, to Pakistan, and the others could join eventually. But I think it's in the question of self-determination, I don't think the government will be very happy to hear those words, but I think the Baloch people have the right to claim it and to present it within the normal ways that is done through the United Nations system.
So recently we see, with respect to the Arabic countries, that particularly America and the Western countries, they are, they are supporting the victims of human rights, the victims of dictatorship, and they are, supporting the people to raise their voice. We have been a victim. We were a victim of religious terrorism. We are a victim of religious terrorism. And there are issues of human rights, cultural rights, economical rights, and a historical, evidence of forced occupation. So our people have a hope that diplomatically, as a moral obligation, the Western and American people, communities, organizations, and representatives support us. So what do you think on it?
I would wish that they would support, but there's the political, as I always said, that the United Nations is a club of member states, and you must convince this club to support your claims. They all have their own political interests, and Pakistan plays a big important role in the area, and therefore Pakistan as such will also have their claims with all these governments. And I think it's a long road to go. It's not impossible, but it's not easy. And for that, the claims have to be understood by the big powers. And the big powers have to see your point of view in order to give the free way, in order to introduce this resolution eventually at the General Assembly that will give you or pave the way to an eventual self-determination of the Baloch people. But it's not an easy undertaking, believe me, but this does not preclude that in the meanwhile, the government of Pakistan, which is really the one responsible for your protection and for your well-being, does not adopt the laws regarding the question of disappearances or provide justice regarding the disappearances, the torture, and the summary execution, which is daily being, I think, committed in this country. So this is unacceptable.
So, as you said, with respect to strategic importance, Balochistan also has a very, geostrategic importance. Balochistan is rich in minerals, gas, and oil.
Yeah.
now the Pakistan has joined China for strategic designs.
Yeah.
They have developed strategic designs, and they are going to implement that. For that purpose, Pakistan handed over China the Gawadar port, which is a very, very geostrategic important location.
Yeah.
And they have designs to develop naval base. And other than that, the mega projects which are going on of oil, of gold, copper, they have planned to extract uranium from the Balochistan. So what how you see the geostrategic, importance of our land and the reaction of the other countries?
Yes, and and you feel without power somehow to impose your views, because from the international point of view, I think Pakistan controls the area. I think you are under the rule of Pakistan. You are not independent. Therefore, the agreements that the government makes with other countries are legal agreements for the time being. So, which are your claims, in fact, against the deals that Pakistan is making with China? That is your question. Do you have anything to say there? Do you have any claims for the time being? And I think for the time being, until the question eventually of self-determination evolves, and I don't know how autonomous are the authorities in Balochistan today, the ones that deal with the central government. Is an administrative independence of Balochistan within the structure of the government today or not?
There's a so-called, but that is, a parliament, provincial parliament.
That's right.
Most of the members of the parliament, they are, persons of the establishment, are
That's
having
correct.
the support of the establishment of Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
We, the Baloch, we have a claim that the state is looting our resources. We have been deprived, and we are being marginalized, and all these agreements are being done without, taking the people in confidence, without taking the representatives of the people in confidence. So it's just a looting of the resources. But the international community is also silent on these issues when they see that the strategic designs are being made by a Islamofascist country. Tomorrow that port, those resources might be used to launch as a launching pad on international community.
I do understand their concern completely, but the question is, the self-determination, how do you get control of the territory, of your territory? Is either by force, which I don't think you are in a position to do that. Pakistan has an atomic weapon. I don't think you have an atomic bomb. Do it, you cannot. And therefore, it's only through negotiation. And through negotiation, it's just convincing other countries. And that is very important, that your organization and group establishes contact with key persons of the governments that they have something to say, that the injustice that's being committed to the Baloch population regarding the natural resources, of being deprived of their well-being, and the lack of education of the people, and the systematic, I think, brainwashing on the young population. This is key for the future of the Balochistan people. This is what in my view.
So with respect to self-determination, what do you think that the state itself will not give us this right?
No.
So the UN and other bodies, particularly United Nations is the only body.
Yeah, or the regional, in the region, which government do you think will support your ideas?
Currently, we are hoping from all, but no one is supporting.
So this is the reality. You have a long and heavy road to go. And I think that my idea is that to bring this issue, in particular to the natural resources, to the governments, that they could really say something in the future, and in particular, for the time being, try to do the best with the central government to get as much autonomy as you can. But it's only through negotiations. I think by force, it's a hopeless way. And I think the mandates of the United Nations in terms of the people, they could really help, but you need a consistent way of bringing to the attention of the working group on disappearances, or the rapporteurs, of how much suffer the people in that region. This is really a legitimate concern, and you have to, I hope, that you have enough resources or organizations that could help you and assist you in this noble aim.
Okay. Thank you, respected Bruna Molina.
Thank you
Thanks
very
so
much. I
Dr.
hope.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
And thanks for
And
your...
I can hope we can come to the room 17 with a good result. Thank you.